Howdy ho, Andrew here. Welcome to the Onion Buns and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Oilers. So, it's the summertime blues. So, there's not really a lot of news, but there's a lot of discussion. So, this episode's going to be about those different discussions. But to start off, we have Northlands Coliseum, old home of the Edmonton Oilers, set for 2026 demolition. Okay, I personally disagree with this by the city. I think Northlands should be repurposed and used. It's part of our history, it's part of our heritage, it's part of our legacy, and I really don't get why our left-wing politicians, because that's what we have in Edmonton, are so intent on destroying history. Like, I understand it costs money to maintain, but the numbers I hear are, you take it away from a couple special interest groups that shouldn't be funded and you got the money to keep it maintained. It's as simple as that. So I really disagree with tearing down Northlands, but it seems like that's what's going to happen next year. Zach Lang from Oilers Nation said, a building whose walls ooze a tale of dynasty past is set to be demolished. The city of Edmonton has set a timetable for when the demolition of Northlands Coliseum will begin, summer 2026. Its demolition will take around 2 years, according to the city report cited by Global News, with its $35 million price tag having been earmarked in the budget. But there's hope for the site of the building that once saw Wayne Gretzky and company build a dynasty, as the province of Alberta has allotted $55 million for demolition of the building, so long as the city spends $35 million to repurpose the site. Okay, repurpose the site, but Northland's still gone. Northlands Coliseum is the history. The site is not the history. The building is the history. What went on in the building is the history. And that's gone. So I think it's a travesty, honestly. I don't agree, but I rarely agree with Edmonton City Council. So just chalk this up as yet another one. I have great memories of Northlands. Fantastic memories. My brother saw Kiss Destroyer concert in Northlands back at K-Days when we actually had a real Klondike Days. I saw Chilliwack play there. I'm not a big concert guy, so my brother was, and he saw numerous concerts in Northlands. Only one I saw was Chilliwack, but it was great. And, I went to tech fairs in the summertime in Northlands, and, it's just, and then there's the Oilers stuff. It's a building just loaded with history and legacy, and we should be respecting that, honoring that, and holding on to that. And yeah, that's my 2 cents, but looks like I'm not going to get my way. And Edmonton's going to lose a landmark, another landmark. I don't get it. I really don't. But anyway, so yeah. All right. Before we go on, I just want to make a quick mention. If you find any enjoyment or relevance or interest out of my videos I make, please take the 1 second it takes to subscribe. I'm trying to grow my channel. I need 1,000 subscribers to get monetized. And if you do enjoy the content, please like, comment, and share. By commenting, share, you help me with the YouTube algorithm and getting more eyes on my videos. So just a quick favor. It costs you absolutely nothing to subscribe, and it does me wonders. So please, just hit the subscribe button. And that's all I had to say on that. Next up, we have Elliot Freeman. Oiler McDavids set to work on extension after Team Canada Olympic camp. So that's the answer. McDavid is going to renegotiate once the Olympic camp is over with. And as I said a week ago, it was a week ago, or somebody said it, I repeated it. It was, this deal gets done when Connor McDavid wants the deal to get done. But from every source out there that's not out of Toronto, because according to Toronto, McDavid's going to Toronto. But from every other hockey source, this deal's going to get done. It's a matter of how long, what type of term. You know, I'm still seeing people say 8 years. I still think it's going to be a 4-year contract at 16 to 16.5 million a season. And what I see happening is if we win the cup in those 4 years, then Connor will re-sign an 8-year contract and finish out his days as an Oiler because he will have won his cup. If we don't win the cup in those 4 years, I see Connor walking to a top contender. Newsflash, Toronto, that's not you, so you can quit spinning already. But he'll go to a top contender. What Friedman had to say is, I would expect after Connor McDavid is done there and he goes back to Edmonton, they will work on getting this done. I think everyone wants to get it done, so I would expect between the Olympic camp and training camp, they sit down and say, how's this all going to look? And yeah, you know, I've been saying since day one that I fully expect Connor McDavid's going to re-sign with the Oilers. So now we just have a timetable. The other bit of news is former Oiler Tyson Barrie retires after 14 NHL seasons. After 822 NHL games, Tyson Barrie is calling it a career. Best of luck in retirement. He played for the Avalanche, the Leafs, the Oilers, the Nashville Predators, and the Calgary Flames. I think it's safe to say his best two teams are the Oilers and the Avalanche. He spent 3 seasons with us with the Oilers, and I love Tyson Barrie. I love Tyson Barrie, but one of the reasons I love Tyson Barrie is because we use Tyson Barrie properly. In many ways, Tyson Barrie is like Evan Bouchard. He is an offensive defenseman, so we put him on the third pairing and limited his 5-on-5 minutes. And that was perfect. He produced on the power play, but he didn't really cost us when he was on the ice because he wasn't our top line defenseman. You know, we recognized his weaknesses and we positioned to enhance his play as best we could. And I still say that's what we should do with Bouchard, but for some reason the Oilers still think Evan Bouchard is a number 1 defenseman in this league. To me, Evan Bouchard is Tyson Barrie, just a step above him in the offensive. He's very poor defensive skills, non-physical, doesn't block shots, not a locker room leader from all reports. You know, all he does is offense. So I really think with Evan, we should have put him on the third pairing like we did with Barrie. Use him on the power play. That's his speciality, but limit the exposure of his 5-on-5 because he makes so many bloody mistakes. But yeah, so Tyson Barrie has called it quits. Sad to see, but he had a career that a lot of people would love to have. And I wish him all the best in his future endeavors. All right, this is interesting. Oilers listed among teams who got noticeably weaker this offseason. And I agree with that, but I'm going to read the article to you because I have a feeling I agree, but for different reasons. So here's what the article had to say. Fans have been critical of how the Edmonton Oilers hockey operations staff performed during the offseason, and some members of the media are now pointing out the team's shortcomings heading into the 25-26 campaign. On Tuesday, Matt Larkin of Daily Faceoff put out a list of the 5 franchises in the NHL that got worse over the last couple of months, along with the Colorado Avalanche, Los Angeles Kings, Toronto Maple Leafs, and Winnipeg Jets. The Oilers are viewed as a team that diminished during the offseason. It's not all that difficult to see why there is concern in Edmonton. Despite a team having just come off a second straight trip to the Stanley Cup Final, General Manager Stan Bowman went out and acquired capable pros in Andrew Mangiapane, Curtis Lazar, and Riley Stillman. Bowman then orchestrated a trade that led the Oilers receiving Hobey Baker Award winner Ike Howard writes from the Tampa Bay Lightning. That said, Edmonton lost a lot of veterans who were vital in the team's success over the last few years, as Connor Brown, Corey Perry, Evander Kane were among the names who left town this summer. Larkin acknowledges that the Oilers had to offload some money to make room for Leon Draisaitl and Evan Bouchard's pay bumps, as well as Captain Connor McDavid's contract extension. Yet the assets that have moved from the Alberta capital have left holes that the team has to fill, making the roster a little more shallow than it's been. It has to sting to lose this much from the bottom half of your lineup, Larkin wrote. Of the 23 skaters who dressed for games during Edmonton's run to the 24-25 Stanley Cup Finals, 6 are gone. That's 26% of the lineup turnover. Before we even factor in that first line right winger Zach Hyman isn't a lock to be ready for the opening night. Even if freshly acquired Howard defies the odds and immediately effective in the NHL despite 0 minutes of pro experience, and even if Mangiapane can plug a hole with the decent temporary Hyman impression, this team simply isn't as good as last year. You're lying to yourself if you believe otherwise. That doesn't mean that Edmonton's pursuit of a third straight Cup final appearance is doomed. Any team with McDavid, Draisaitl, and I'm not even going to say the third name because it's not true, will contend. But a shallower team makes the task taller and makes Edmonton far more vulnerable if any of the big three get banged up. Unfortunately, there isn't much room for the Oilers to try and add any more talent to this year's roster without moving some current pieces, according to cap wages. Edmonton has a little over $225,000 in cap space for the 25-26 season. Okay, so mostly I agree with what he's saying, but I think, I love Corey Perry, but he's 41 years old. So I don't think losing him is as big a hit as what they're trying to make it out to be. Losing Evander Kane, that hurts us. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That hurts us, but at the same time, it had to happen because, as I've said before, the league has it out for Evander. He can't do anything out there without getting a penalty, and every time he takes a penalty, it hurts the team. So it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Yes, having Evander on the team makes us tougher, more physical, more impact, but it also hurts us with all the penalties he takes because of the league. I don't blame Evander for those penalties. You go back and watch the Stanley Cup final. Bennett was a billion times dirtier, and he got 2 penalties all finals. Evander goes out there, he looks cross-eyed at a referee, he gets a 2-minute penalty. It was ridiculous, and it was obvious. So that's 2 of the 3 big names that moved. That, Perry, I don't think has the impact that this guy's trying to say he does. And Evander, we had to move Evander. And that hurts saying, but we had to move Evander. Connor Brown's an interesting one. Connor was kind of disappointing last playoffs. He wasn't impactful as what I was expecting. So I don't know if losing him is as big a deal as they're trying to make it out. I mean, I love Connor Brown when he's on his game. Absolutely love him. And maybe he was lagging because I noticed a significant slowdown by Adam Henrique. So was his slowdown affecting Connor because they were on the same line? That's possible. And maybe that's why Connor Brown wasn't as impactful as I was hoping he would be. But, that's just speculation. Connor Brown got an awesome offer from New Jersey. We were not going to match that offer. No way in hell. So, that's 3 gone. My concern is not so much who we lost. My concern is who we brought in. Now, Howard, we traded a rookie to get a rookie, so good trade. My concern with Howard is he's small and he's not physical. So exactly the opposite. I said this last week. I said this the weeks before. I'm going to repeat it again. I believe we lost in the final because we lacked toughness and physicality. I'm not talking about fighting, though I would never complain if somebody grabbed Tkachuk by the jersey, ragdolled him over and beat him into a bloody pulp. But, I don't like Tkachuk. But no, I'm talking about grinding, physicality, intimidation. It is a part of hockey, and we don't have it. We simply didn't have it last year, other than Evander, but I already went over. Every time Evander did anything, he got a penalty. Whereas Bennett was free to hack, slash, trip, slew foot, whatever. And the referees called nothing. So yeah, it's I look at who we've brought in and who the talking heads keep mentioning, and it's all small guys. You got Howard, you got Savoy, Majapani. He's not big, and he is like Zach Hyman to like Zach Hyman is A, Majapani is B. So he's a step down. But, I don't consider Zach Hyman to be a tough physical player. I consider Zach Hyman to be a grinder. And Majapani is much in the same mode as a grinder. But it just seems like we're going to that mindset again of offense, 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 offense. And that you'll never win a cup doing that. I'm sorry, you won't. The perfect makeup for a team to me is offense, offense, balance, defensive shutdown. That's how I want to see the Oilers designed, but that's not how they're being designed. So I actually agree we got weaker, but we got weaker because we got smaller. You can carry some small players on your team as long as you got big players to counter them. We don't. And yeah, I don't know how that's going to work out. I really don't. We'll have to wait and see. But I agree with the article. I think we got weaker. I'm hoping I'm wrong. I really am. I'm an Oiler fan and I want to see the Oilers win. But on paper, I think we got weaker. As I've said, though, one of the ways we could address that is if we give Josh Brown a legitimate chance at making the number 6, number 7 spot on the Oilers defense. Because Josh Brown is 6'5", 99 kilograms. I wish they'd put it in pounds, but welcome to Canada. 99 kilograms. He's a tough physical player. So, if we use him in a shutdown third pairing role, he brings size, physicality, aggression. And Trent Frederick, same thing. 6'1" or 6'3", 100 kilograms. He brings size, physicality, aggression. So this is what we need to start filling with. We got tons of offense on this team. We really do. We need some defensive specialists, which brings us to the last topic of today. There is a rumor going around that Curtis Lazar is not going to make the team and be sent to the AHL. I'm going to go hoarse screaming vulgarities at this team if they send Curtis Lazar to the AHL. We need that fourth line shut down. It's that simple. We need shutdown. We do not need more offense. This is why I think Savoy should be sent back to the AHL this year, because he's young enough that he doesn't have to clear waivers, so we can send him to the AHL safely without worrying about somebody picking him up. But we can't have an overburden of rookies and small players on this team. I don't care how offensively gifted they are. You cannot win with offense, 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 offense. You have to have players that can keep the puck out of your net. I don't know how else to say it. I mean, I'm going hoarse saying this over and over and over, and it drives me nuts. So we're going to see. I've heard this rumor a few times now, and Gregor's show was talking about it, and they were talking about it on Chet as well. And if they send Lazar down for anything but a conditioning stint, that is such a moronic move. There's just no other way to put it. That's a moronic move. We need to get some balance on this team. Offense, balance, shut down. That's what we need. Until we get that, I don't see us winning. I hate to say it, but I don't. Because it keeps burning us. We got all these offensive players, but once we get pushed into a defensive role, we break. We need to get some defensive specialists. It's that simple. Before we go, here's one last thing. I found this interesting. It's just a comparison of salaries and kind of tells you how out of control salaries are. It was mine put out by Big Head Hockey. Wayne Gretzky's career earnings, 46 million. Frank Nazar contract after 56 career games, 46.13 million. So Frank Nazar, whoever the hell he is, he's on Chicago. I have no clue who he is. Has already made more money than Wayne Gretzky made in his career on one contract. That's ridiculous. You know, to me, that highlights how overpaid players are. And like, I understand NHL pays considerably less than NFL and NBA and MLB. You know, NHL plays a lot less, but it's ridiculous. You know, there's only a few players out there that deserve the big money. The rest of them, you know, 46.13 million after only 56 career games. That's just ludicrous. And on a team like Chicago, no less. So anyway, yeah, that's really about all I have for you this week. It's, like I said, there wasn't a lot of news and there's only a couple interesting things to talk about. You know, I don't know how, well, I guess this is why they keep talking about football now. Sorry, I'm not a football fan. You know, on the sports channels, because, you know, there's not a lot of news out there, and I'm not going to weigh you down with news from other teams. So anyway, that's my video for this week. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, a subscribe, and a share. I'm trying to grow my channel, and a like, a subscribe, and a share does me wonders, and I do appreciate it. I always feel free to leave a comment. I encourage everybody to leave a comment. Not only does it get us interacting, but it really does help me with the YouTube algorithm and getting more eyes on my videos. And as always, pew, 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 and shit. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.